Well, hey everybody, it's Shannon here. I got a new book in the mail today, and this is the digital journal I have been working on all year. So, getting a book back when you're a digital scrapbooker is kind of like Christmas. You work on this thing all year, you're making the pages, they're not amounting to anything that you can see, and then finally you send it off and you kind of hope that it's going to come back good and that your sort of idea of the book is good, and it's just a fantastic day when that little blurb package arrives. So this is it. It's pretty chunky. I've got some details. So it's an 8 by 10 and it's a hardcover image wrap, which is the way I do most of my books. So that just means it has this kind of image printed on it of mine. You can get a soft cover also with the image, and you can also get a book flap where you kind of take the cover off and it's loose. So they're the options you get with Blurb, but I always go for this one. I like it. I've done a few soft covers, I think, if they're kind of smaller books, but this one is a big chunky and I think it deserves a hardcover. For the first time, I chose this Mohawk Superfine Eggshell paper, which is one of their luxurious choices. So usually I go the luster or the matte, but this time I just thought for this particular thing, I'm going to try something different. And I have to tell you, I mean, I'll go through the book, but the paper is just gorgeous. Let's have a look up close if you can. They call it eggshell because it does have a slight kind of to it. It's very thick, really thick, and super crisp and fantastic. So this is one of the more, it's in the luxurious line. So it's one of the more expensive ones, but I just thought this is a whole year I'm working on this. Let's splurge at the end and get it kind of in a good way. Cost for this one I've even taken notes this time because I usually come in here and start talking about the books and have no idea what I spent. So this one did cost 130 Australian plus $14 shipping, but there was a 40% off code last weekend, and that meant the whole thing cost me about $102 Australian with delivery. So that's pretty good. I always try to think about the cost of these books in relation to if I printed at home. So that would take ink, it would take photo paper, I would need lots of page protectors, I would need probably multiple albums for something, over a year. So I think it kind of all works out in the end, but I actually think the value is in getting this kind of thin spine on my shelf instead of a giant album. So that's the cost, and I was really happy with it. It was a project I started in October last year, and it got to about October this year, and this is when I thought I was going to finish it. And then that deal came up on a Friday saying, 40% off Photobooks. I'm like, okay, that's my sign. I'm getting it on, I'm sending it off, because a lot of times with things like this, you can keep wanting to add and tweak, and then you just have to get to a point where you just send it off. Okay, so what is this book? This book was my concept in October last year when I kind of got a bit bored of everything. So last year I was doing 8.5 by 11 pages, printing them at home and putting them in albums. I was doing 4 by 8 pages in life crafted albums, and I was doing a version of Project Life. So in October I thought, you know what, I'm just going to simplify, and I want to make a kind of hybrid thing. So I want a little bit art journal, a little bit Smashbook, a little bit Project Life, a lot scrapbook, and kind of like the kind of thing you would scribble in when you're a teenage girl. If that makes any sense to you, I applaud you. So that was my concept, and we'll see going through it. I also just thought I would have an ongoing style, so the book kind of is cohesive, but then I was always happy to throw in like proper scrapbook pages. And by proper scrapbook page, I just mean a layout that you would make independent of the book that could live on its own type thing. I didn't make as many of those as I thought I might. But there you go. There's a few of those sprinkled in. I'll point those out. I also wanted a lot of full page photos. Sadly, a lot of those are of my face because my children and my husband are just not, they're just not doing it anymore. They're not in the photo realm anymore. So it has to be me, sadly. So you'll see a lot of those. And that's also why I wanted a better quality of paper because, when you're doing 8 by 10 photos and things, you really need to you just need to play to that, and you need to spend a little bit more extra money to get them coming out well. If you went like the really cheap version, then, you know, all these beautiful full page landscapes and things are not going to have their full glory. So one last quick thing before we look through is that I made all of the pages in Photoshop Elements. I actually have templates to, if you want to make pages in this style in my shop, I'll link those at the bottom of the video. And I made them in Photoshop Elements. And then what I do is I turn all of those into JPEGs. And so when you're bringing them into Blurb, you're just telling Blurb, I'm bringing in a full page photo, even though it's kind of chopped up and things like that. So I'm not using Blurb templates. I'm making it all in Photoshop myself, how I want it. And then I'm bringing it in, you know, finishing it all off and bringing it in as a full page. I also did this year my templates, I did them in 16 by 10. Had to do some quick math then, so that I had each spread as a double spread in front of me. So I could either work across it, or I could kind of see how it related to each other. And it also was quicker putting the book together, because you're basically able to tell Blurb, I want a full page photo across both pages. And then I'm kind of bringing them in and it's splitting them apart. So there we go. Let us have a look now. Okay, the cover. You know, sometimes I don't stick the landing with my covers because, like with this one, I just wanted to get it off. I saw that sale, dollar signs were lighting up in my eyes, and I just wanted to get it off. But I'm happy with this one. There's other times where I did the cover like really quickly at the end and found an error on it later. It's okay, you know. This one, I just chose a photo that I enjoyed that I took through the year. I think I took this one for my week in the life. I like this photo. It's of the city near my office. I didn't have a name for this the whole year. I was calling it my digital journal. You know, what do you call a mashup of all these things? So digest was the name I kind of came up with at the end. And I like that. It's a digest of our year. There's so many kind of, it's a version of Project Life. It's a mashup of everything. So it's called Digest. I mean, who cares? And I've written a digital journal, October 2021 to 2022. And I did a little spine because you want to see that on the shelf. Alrighty. See, look at this beautiful paper. I don't know. It's just, I'm really happy with this. Anyway, so this is my cover page, which I also did right at the end. I just wanted to say I kept this little digital journal from October 2021 to October 2022. I just like people looking through my stuff to get a concept of what the hell they're going to be looking at, even though it's probably only me looking at it, but you know. So I began with this spread. These were actually spreads I'd made before I came up with this concept. So these are full page sort of old school layouts. These would have just gone in my 8.5 by 11. So this one's just about a Friday hat off, and this is about, you know, stuff I'm working on. And this was the concept that I could throw layouts like this into the book. So I had those already sitting there, and I thought I'll just throw them in at the front. Then this page here is more the concept I'm going for. So I've got this kind of line, the date, this same text, and I'm running this through the whole book. You'll see, so it kind of does look like a yearbook. And I'm just, with these notes, writing random things. I won't go through the whole thing, but for instance, I've just said what we did this afternoon of Halloween when I made this last year, what we did on a Sunday, just random photos, and, you know, there's me. I also wanted a place to put a lot of I do a lot of art in Procreate, so drawing and things like that. I didn't so much in the last couple of months. I don't know why. I think I was suffering a bit of burnout this year, to be honest. So a few of those are in there. And I'm just talking about how much I love Wes Anderson, and Zara and I had a good Wes Anderson movie kind of marathon. So this book is just a lot of nonsense, a lot of day-to-day stuff, and everything thrown in. And the reason why I use like staples and tape and thing is because I wanted to get that across. I wanted it to feel like I'm just randomly throwing crap into a book. And, you know, it's not serious, and it's just bits of everyday life. And I wanted that mood because I can take things a little bit too serious, and I can take things to the minimal edge a little bit too far. School photo of my son. So I'm using a couple of journal cards and things. I'm not using tons of product in this, probably a lot of little labels and silly bits and pieces, and some handwriting and things like that. This page is just kind of celebrating, punk music, and I wish I would, could go to 1975 New York. So, that's a spread. Lots of food photos. I've taken lots of memes and things from the internet and popped them in because I just, like to remember them. A lot of movie posters. I do this stuff all the time. Just a view of my space. Lots of big photos of the city, which I love. Talking about going back to the office. Eli and I were watching the Brady Bunch. So I've got a lot of currently watching lists. It's just a quick way to do it. You can see how thick and amazing this paper is. My son finished high school for the year. You can see it's very photocentric, this book. Christmas, I did December Daily, but I didn't want to kind of skip over the whole thing. So I just did this one spread photo of the table and talked about what our Christmas day was like. Vinyl records. A New Year party. The pool. Really tons of pool photos. This is when we're into the summer period now. So we're in kind of like December, January in Australia. I'm just telling little stories, like dark and rainy this morning. Brett went off to work. So I'm just kind of saying, what's happened today, what's happening with COVID here and there. Little quotes. When Don't Fear the Reaper comes on and your 15-year-old immediately says more cowbell. We watched movies, just little silly stuff. This is the stuff I like. This was just a Janis Joplin photograph that I played with some digital elements. A currently page, so watching, listening, reading. It's a quick way to do it. The tape you can see. This was my word for 2022. I hand wrote a bunch of TV shows that I watched over the summer. Song lyrics always show up in my stuff. 5 topics I can talk about for 30 minutes without prep. Music of the 1960s, the Kardashians, the early years, Young Ones TV show, serial killers, especially Ted Bundy, and scrapbooking. So there you go. That's what I'm putting in. Little silly things. Lyrics again. I was a bit into Linda Ronstadt in this period. Soundtracks. The kids' first day at high school. A couple of drawings again. So much food. So many memes. Current obsessions. Super Bowl with Brett. During lockdown in Sydney, I had my hobby was finding secondhand records online, and I was getting them delivered constantly. And this is just kind of like a spread of what I got over a period of the covers, which I really love having that in there. I'm using a lot of these kind of stamp things. Some of them are mine, some are other people's. I love a place where you can kind of write a little thing in there. A lot of the photos have stamps on top. Sleeping good, okay, bad. The weather. Fridays are for. This one I would call like a scrapbook page. This could have lived independently. So I just wanted to document how I listen to the oldies station every day. And I brought all of these photos in and turned them into stamps in Photoshop. I really like how this came out. And I already had this kind of 70s vibe. It was a really old digital kit. I think it was called Woodstock. So that went perfectly. I love that page. And I've just said down there, here are some of the songs I've heard on this rainy Thursday morning. This is a photograph turned into a stamp and recolored, something in Photoshop that I really like to do just for fun. Things I'm obsessed with right now. This is when our family kind of got COVID. Well, I still haven't, but Eli did, then Zara did. It's our anniversary. I'm obsessed with Mad Men and I'm obsessed with 60s decor. So if I see a photo of a Mad Men office or one of their kind of living rooms or something, I just need to keep it. Gorilla Tag was a big game at this time. Yes, watching The Dropout, Life and Beth, The Dropout and Minx. That's a quick way to sort of document what you're watching. Amazing April weekend after all the rain. We spent a lot of time out by the pool. These are the kind of photos I love because this stuff, it changes a lot. You know, your home changes. And just to have a snapshot of it like this, because one day we'll say, oh, remember we had that couch, or remember that plant was there. I love that. Boot weather, new bedding. That's worth a page, right? A rainy photo. I've done a couple of my Thursday threes in here in this simple way. The dog. This could have been like a proper layout, so it just goes in there. Zara and I watched Twin Peaks. We're still going. Our favourite bit is when the Coop Boop, when Agent Cooper tweaks Harry's nose. Have to put that in. And then I had my Twin Peaks pops. Music challenge. This was a proper scrapple page, and I have this in my shop. Just like favourite spot at home, favourite book, favourite TV show. A very simple way to kind of do that. Mother's Day, another pool photo. I've put in some of the papers and things I've made in my shop just to remember this weekend. A nice little list. I love this little kind of paper list there. I love this. This is from Live Life Paper, I think. The great documentation of the plant sort of coming to kill us. Maverick. Girls' weekend away. That could have been a layout, but just goes in here. More TV, more dog. Sundays are for cookbook reading and meal planning. Stranger Things, of course. All the obsessions have to go in, right? A winter weekend. I love all these little things. Weekend away with our friends. This is a Brandy Kincaid, a very old template of Brandy's that I think she still has available. It's just such a cute way. You know, what I wore, what I bought, what I read, good words. This is more a scrapbook layout as well. I think I have this one in my shop. There we go, Don Draper's apartment. TV. Lots of Brett out there in the back. He doesn't like his photo taken much. Neither do I have to say. Books that I'm reading. I got back into reading over that period. I'm out of it again. I wish I was back in that actually. The Love Witch. What a strange and fantastic movie that was. I've used, you know, journal cards to fill up space. Sometimes I liked filling in all the gaps, and other times I was like, I'm over that. Let's just fill it up. This is a currently list, so just things that are going on. I do my handwriting in Procreate and just bring it in. This is probably a full kind of layout. Took the kids to see Maverick. A working from home little story. Dinner out. Cocktail with Brett. Out with Brett again. My daughter always teases me and said, "You've cut Dad off again," which is exactly how he likes it, so it's fine. We're getting to the end, I think. A girls' weekend away again. The bear, how fantastic was that? Renovation plans. The dog again. She makes a couple of appearances, doesn't she? These are all TV shows I'm watching right now. This is such a simple way to kind of just put them all in. A little life update. And then we have, well, I've ended it off. I won't show you the full page because Brett doesn't have his shirt on, but it's just Brett laying out the back in that. He'll be thrilled to know that's on the internet. So there we go. That is that. So that is my year of scrapbook pages. I really love how it came out. I love the mashup of it. I just like looking through it. This is what I pictured. Like, it's just visually interesting to me to have all that bits. And I think if I pull this out in 5 years' time, I'm going to be really grateful that I, spent all this time on it. So that's it for now. I don't know what I'm going to do from now onwards, or 2023. I'm still figuring that out. I probably won't do this exact thing because I get bored of what I'm doing. Like, a year doing something like this, even though this was kind of fun and low key, it's still, hard work to do it. So I'm still kind of figuring out what's next. There's always something new. And the great part about digital is you can just make a whole project up and, bring it to life however you want. So that is that. If anyone has questions, of course, let me know. But there we go. That is my digital journal. I worked on it all year and I am just so happy to have it in my hands now. And I really, really recommend that Mohawk Superfine Eggshell paper. More so for scrapbook pages. I think if you're doing a trip album where it's all photographs and things, they're beautiful, but I'd probably go something a little bit glossier. But I knew going in that this was going to be like a yearbook, like something you would buy, a yearbook for a band or something, and you put it on your coffee table. And so I just really like that paper. So thank you guys for looking through that with me. There we go. That will go on my shelf, and I will talk soon. Bye.